This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it's time for Avoid the Maze, your journey through life. Now, I say this all the time, and I cannot repeat it enough. We're not going to avoid the maze. Sorry, everybody, because there's always someone or something that tries to hijack you. And when you get hijacked, sometimes you feel like, I don't know what to do. And you sit down on the floor and you stare at that wall thinking, it's only me. What's wrong with me? Well, I think today we're going to find out it's not just me or just you, it's all of us. But if you listen and listen closely, you will find people like my guest, Michelle Hayes, who can offer us some advice. Now, she's going to talk about nutrition and women's fitness. And you might say, but I can't do that because I can't eat that food, or I can't do that workout because my body just won't let me. Well, you know what? There's always something we can do. And I have to tell you, Michelle, I was told to do water exercises for pain that I'm having in my right hip and leg. Been
Right.
doing them regularly. I go to the pool 3, 4 times a week. They weren't helping. So I called my therapist and I said, what's wrong? And she said, how often are you doing them? 3 to 4 times a week. How long are you doing them? Oh, an hour. No, are you actively in the water for an hour? And I said, yes. And she said, you know what? You're irritating yourself. You're not,
Yeah.
she said, go back and look at the paperwork. What did it say? 15 to 20 minutes because you don't feel that resistance in the water. And here I thought, since the 1st of June, I was accelerating.
I was like killing it.
Yeah. So, how did you get into this field? Because most of us, as young women, um, we think about all the fun things like ice cream and candy and whatever. And fitness isn't always on our agenda either.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, fitness is definitely not always on our agenda. And in fact, I mean, most of the times when we're in school and we're told that we have to do PE and stuff, like what did we find all sorts of excuse, we're cramping, whatever, I'm on my period, have a headache, unless it is something that you're truly interested in, because it's not set as a high priority. When we're actually youngsters in like preschool and middle school and all that stuff like that, it's more of a priority then because people want us to get out of their hair, right? They, oh, go outside and play. You do what you know. And then as we get older, it's almost like you expect teenagers to not want to work out, to not want to exercise. You expect them to want to go out with your friends and play on their phones and stuff like that. And we don't really get that encouragement, right? And then as we get into our 20s, what starts happening, when maybe we start getting married, and that's when most people, when they want to get married, now what do? They start going on these restrictive diets. They only eating once a day. They starving themselves until the wedding. And I want to really say that that is where the cycle most sometimes starts for us, right? Where we do that restriction because we want to get married or we're going on this big thing, we lose the weight, and then we go on this big thing, and then what happens as soon as we get there, we gain the weight. I mean, on the wedding day, you eating, you drinking, you go on your honeymoon. Most people go on the honeymoon right after, so they're not continuing in that strictness. So they go on their honeymoon and they come back from their honeymoon, A, pregnant, or B, they're put on 20 pounds. So then you're like, oh my gosh, I put on 20 pounds. So then they start restricting again. So it's that's where the cycle begins. So we don't get taught really in school about nutrition. It has fallen by the wayside. So what happens with us is as we get there, we start going through these cycles of weight gain, weight loss, weight gain, weight loss, restricting, dieting, this diet, this one, that one, and not listening to our bodies, which is very, very smart. Our bodies can tell us exactly what it needs, and you need to get outside. You need to get in, go for a walk. And sometimes people think themselves as, oh, more is more is better, right? And just as your therapist says, more is not always better. How about if you say to yourself, I'm going to do 20 minutes a day 5 days a week, right? That is going to give you more benefit than if you kill yourself going out and doing 2 hours a day when you're not used to it, right? Because then what's going to happen? Your body's going to get fatigued. You're going to start hurting. And you're like, blow this. I'm not doing this if this is how it's going to hurt, right?
Exactly.
This therapist don't know, this person don't know what they're talking about because this shit hurts, you know? And then you stop. And then so you've lost your momentum. And then, okay, whatever rolls around, the holidays coming up, the vacations coming up, the new year is coming up, and you start all over again, you start hurting, and then you drop that because you start hurting again. So for me, again, I'm talking about this from experience, Karen. This is not something that I'm just making up, and I'm talking about it from experience. I've been through it. So when I got through all of that, and then in my 40s, like 47, 46, 47, I had it's almost like you have to understand where you're coming from. Your doctor is telling you now you're pre-diabetic. I was pre-diabetic. I had high blood pressure. And I know that obviously pre-diabetes as a nurse for 20 plus years, I know that pre-diabetes means if you don't take care of it, you're gonna be
Right.
diabetic, right? Pre means it's coming, right? So um so I didn't want to get more medication. I didn't want to go on more medication. My blood pressure medication was always there. It bothered me that I was on blood pressure medication because it's almost like you want to think, I know better,
Right.
right? I know better. I don't want to be on blood pressure medication. I know better about the diabetes. I've seen my dad struggle with diabetes. My dad lost his leg to diabetes. I know better. I don't want to be gone down that route. But it took a lot in my mindset shifts because I'm like, what can I do that is going to really help me? I need to start with one thing. And if I want to tell your audience anything else, they need to start with one thing. And I kind of figured out that I was walking, I was doing all the things, but the one thing that I wasn't really paying too close attention to was my nutrition, right? What was I putting in my mouth? Was I eating because I was sad or eating because I was happy? Am I going after the trends? I'm not listening to my body.
Right.
So I said I can control and I can really control what I'm putting in my body and I can look and see how it's affecting me. And that's where I started. So at 47 years old, I started that process. 15 months later, after I started at 47, 15 months later, I had lost 120 pounds because I was like 280 pounds, right? All because it's waking up and taking one thing. And as I took that one thing with nutrition, I then built up on it, right? I built up the other things. I started working out. I started prepare making mindset shifts that continue to help me because 15 months of consistency is what got me there. It's not a quick fix thing. 15 months
Absolutely.
of being consistent, waking up and saying, today I choose me, right? Because as women, we choose everybody else. Everybody else is important. You choose healthy food for your kids' plate. You want them to have healthy. Oh no, you're gonna have your vegetables. It's gonna make you strong. You're gonna have your fruit. It's gonna help you. Do we eat fruits and do we eat vegetables? No, we don't. Because guess what? We're eating the scraps off your table. And then we get emotional about how we look, our weight, our life is stressed out. We get stressed about work, our relationships. It just affects everything else because we're not taking care of the one person that is taking care of everybody else.
Right. So,
So that's really how I started.
and I'm sure our listeners are saying, well, I don't even know what that one thing is to take out. Well, I will tell you that it's probably almost 15 years ago. My husband was diagnosed diabetic type 2, and he was very good about it in the beginning. We threw out all the junk food. I read up on what he could eat, and I followed that diet as well. And I lost 40 pounds. I felt wonderful. He lost some weight. I won't say he lost a lot, but he lost some weight. He's not as active as I am. At least he wasn't back then.
Right.
But we saw that difference. Now, let's shoot ahead almost 10 years, and he's realizing that, you know what? He can't eat that candy bar and his level doesn't go up. So he started sneaking in more things. As he snuck them in, for whatever reason, I was content, but now I wasn't. Now I felt left out. And so he had a candy bar. Guess who else had a candy bar?
Right, because it's in the house, and
That's
why
right.
not?
And it was about 6 months ago when I said to him, you want to eat it? That's your choice. It's your body, your health. I can't do those things. And so it's taking me longer, but I know I'm doing the right things. And how do I know that? Because I read up on what is good for my body, but I also listen to my body. So about a half hour ago, I was feeling a sugar low. I knew it. I went downstairs. One of my favorite snacks is edamame, and I had a teaspoon of it. It's a vegetable. It doesn't, not many calories. There's no sugar in it. And I'll tell you what, that in a glass of water, I knew that I could get through the next hour or so. And then I'll have time to have my lunch.
Right. And this is the thing. What happens is, we, as you said, your husband got that diagnosis. And a lot of times when we get a diagnosis, that's when we start taking stock, even though our bodies have been talking to us for a long time. Our bodies have been talking for us way before that diagnosis came in, right? You weren't feeling good. You were feeling tired. You were feeling listless. You just didn't feel. And I think when I talk to my clients as well, what I want them to know, understand, what I want them to do is I want them to feel healthy, right? It's so important. Like Karen, you just described something that you saw yourself, it's called slipping down the slope, right? And there is always a gateway something for you. That gateway was that candy bar for you, right? So you can handle one candy bar every now and then, but then before you know it, you were having a candy bar 3 times a week. And then you were having a candy bar 5 times a week. And then it went to like, I'm having a candy bar every day. So that little open door that you opened is always something that you really like, right? And it's not to say that you can't have it. It's understanding that when you open the door to it, it can lead to you slipping down the slope. Some people catch it before it gets to the point where you're like, shoot, I really let this slip. Or some people say when they let it slip, they don't understand. So you understood that I need to figure out what's going on. But this is the problem here with a lot what's going on in the world, that we have so much information. We're so bombarded with so many things. And I don't know what it is that the media and social media and wherever they have hit on the women over 40. Man, we get targeted left, right, and center. And the more we get targeted, the more we start feeling like if we're not good enough, right? So first thing we need to do is to feel what's healthy. What does healthy feel like to you? Does healthy feel like, you can walk around the block and take a deep breath? Me, my healthy, at the time, my healthy, I had in my mind that I wanted to jog 20 minutes straight because I love jogging. It makes me feel empowered. And I couldn't do it anymore. And that is what I wanted. And to me, that would be the pinnacle of health, right? For me. And it's a feeling that I knew it's a feeling. Wasn't a thing. It was a feeling. And when I started losing weight and when I started being able to run that 20 minutes, man, I feel like I was on top of the world. Was I a certain weight before I could do it? Did I have to get to a certain weight? Did I have to lose 20 pounds, 30 pounds? I knew instinctively that I had to have a feeling. It's a feeling that we need. So when I talk to clients and when I talk to people, I'm like, what does health feel like to you? Write that down. When you are at your optimal health, write it down. What would be that feeling? it would be like somebody saying to you, somebody really wants a baby, and then they have a baby, and they holding this baby. And what is that feeling when you are holding that baby in your hand? I want you to experience that. Do the same thing with your health. What is the feeling like? What do you feel like when you understand that you're no longer maybe on that high amount of diabetic drugs, or that you have to take all this medication for your cholesterol, or you've regulated your thyroid, or now your hormone levels have been regulated and you feel a little bit more like you, because everybody knows what it feels like to be them. You have that feeling. Karen, what it is. When you are in your full health, you you feel good. And the thing is, there are a lot of stuff that we have to deal with as we get older, right? We have menopause, and we have everything. And it is not, as you said, it's not like if you're going to experience it, it's when you're going to experience it. Like, so how are you preparing yourself for that? You want to go into it in the best way possible. So when you start experiencing, because it comes with the sleepless night, it comes with the hot flashes, it comes with the potential for depression, it comes with all of that. But if you're into it already at a few steps ahead with how I'm feeling healthy, the way you navigate it is going to be a lot different than somebody who is not in the optimal, who's already feeling almost like they're not healthy, they're not feeling right in their bodies, right? So I don't want to say um not feeling well or feeling bad, but the words that we express, right? How are you feeling today? Like, when people say, how are you feeling today, Karen? People say, I'm fine. No, you're not fine, right? We're not fine. Let us have that conversation. Let's be real and say, you know what? There's a feeling that I have inside of me as I'm getting older that I don't know what's going on. And my head hurts. I'm feeling foggy. I'm getting headaches. I feel bloated. This fupa around me seem to go away. Every time I do something, I get tired and winded. Speak up. Speak up to you. Speak up to me, so that we can actually help each other to navigate it. So as you said, when you open that door, you find that gateway. When you open that gate, just be careful you don't let the chickens run out, because
Right.
you have to pay around catching up now. You have to catch up with them, and you have to run after them to get there. So that's what just happened to you, and I'm glad you figured it out.
Yep. Well, and I think we all hear our body, but we don't listen to our body.
Good.
So,
Mm,
when I first started getting the COVID shot, um, they told me, your arm could hurt, you might get a headache, you might feel sick for a day or so. Well, the first one, nothing, not
okay.
even a sore arm or whatever. But since then, every time I get an update, I am down for the count for 48 hours. It
Mm,
just totally depletes me. But I know certain things I have to do before I get that vaccine. And
right.
same for the
Yes.
flu shot. I have to make sure that I have my electrolytes are up. And so
Mhm.
I drink the right water. Okay. I don't
Mhm.
just drink it from the tap. Okay. I've gone out and bought Pedialyte when I can't find anything else. And
Right. Yes. Yeah.
you're drinking Pedialyte, that's for
You're
baby.
like,
You know what?
mhm.
I can cut that time down from
Mhm.
48 hours to maybe 24 hours.
Right.
And it's because when it happened the first time, I listened to everything that was going on in my body.
Mhm.
My toes hurt, you know.
That's right. Yeah.
And so when I felt better, I wrote it all down.
Hmm.
And I went to the pharmacy before I went to the doctor and I said,
Right.
these are all the symptoms I had. And the first thing he said was, make sure you are well hydrated. And even if
Hydrated.
you don't want to drink when you're feeling sick, you've
Mm.
got to get those sips in. But I told my doctor said,
Mm.
oh, that happens to people. Well, it
Mm.
does. But like you
Yep.
said, if you open the door and figure out what you need to bring in, you can be so much better. Don't bring in the wrong stuff. bringing the
Right.
right stuff.
Right. And know your triggers, right? Know your triggers. So for you, understanding that every time you have a shot, like a COVID shot or a flu shot, it triggers your body into an inflammatory process where your body starts getting inflamed because yes, you are protecting your body from a virus, but your body is your body is very sensitive to it. So it triggers your inflammatory process. So you have the aches and you have the headaches and you have the tiredness that comes from like if you have the flu or you have a virus, right? And it's because you're putting a virus in your body. So how do you deal with that? And as you said, you figured out like after the first time, what is it that's happening? And I wrote it down. So that is something that is very key to when it comes to figuring out how you're going to take that step, right? You don't just start. As you said, your husband and you got the diagnosis of his diabetes, and you came in and you overhauled the whole house, you pulled everything out, you threw out all the junk food and stuff like that. Did at that time, did it was a fear of, you know, what can happen potentially with diabetes
Right.
that made you guys do that. But slowly, as you said, things began to normalize, and 5 years out, he's still alive and everything's good, and he still has all his limbs because you read all the scary stuff on the internet, and you just let stuff in. So when you are wanting to know where that first step comes from, the first step is before you do anything, before you overhaul anything, before you do anything, you take a week and start writing down the things that's you feeling, right? So even if when I eat, I don't know, when I eat a donut, I feel energized for 30 minutes and then my energy depletes after 45 minutes. And you don't think anything or just write it down. We're not counting calories here. We're not doing anything like that. We are writing stuff out. We are assessing how what we put in our bodies, how it's manifesting itself in our lives. So that is so important when you are wanting to know where to start. Where to start is first becoming aware of what's going on with your body, right? For me, like something like before I knew all of this, I did all the things. Like I tried the keto and stuff like that, and I realized keto makes me, even though people says, oh, you have that's the keto sickness and stuff like that. But it was more than that, right? I didn't want to wake up every morning with a stomachache because my body's not used to that amount of protein. It's not used to that amount of fat. Even though I was overweight, it wasn't used to that. It was used to ultra processed foods, but it wasn't used to those foods. So I was not feeling good. And okay, I waited through. People like, okay, you have the keto flu. So I waited it through. And I'm like, you know what? No, I ain't trying to feel like this for 4 or 5 weeks. No, this is not happening with me. Right. So I had to come up with a different solution. So I wasn't writing it down. I was not aware too much about it.
Sure.
But as I got into nutrition, I realized that this is so important. When you says your body talks, we don't always listen. And how do you listen? It's very subtle and you don't fight it. You just write it down. And then you go back for a week later and you read it out, right? And something, as you said, as simple as Pedialyte, right? I am a power lifter as well. I've been in powerlift competitions. Um, and Pedialyte is everybody in a powerlift competition. You see those people that's lifting 200, 400 pounds and stuff like that. Every single person in a powerlift competition has Pedialyte in their bag. That is like their protein powder. They have Pedialyte in their bag because what Pedialyte does, it's doesn't give you that much calories, but it gives you the right amount of electrolytes to boost your system. And you can sip on it. This is why we give it to kids, right? Because when they're sick, they don't want to drink a lot. But if they're sipping on it, it's giving them the potassium to help with cramps. It's giving them the sodium to help with their muscles. It's giving them the little bit of glucose so that their mind, they think a little better, right? So it's so important when we look at these little things and think it's insignificant, but a good electrolyte system can carry you through as opposed to something like if you're having a whole bunch of food, right? If you hydrated, you can go a long way. You can go days and days and days without food, but you cannot go days and days without water and hydration. It will take your life a lot quicker than not having food.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that I do, and I've been doing this now, oh, probably for about 15, 16 months, is I do keep a food diary. And
Mm,
I keep it for a number of reasons. Number one, to keep me on track
right.
because maybe I don't feel well in the afternoon. I can go back and look and say, well, what did I have earlier today?
Mhm.
Or what did I miss? So, for an example, on Saturday, um, my husband and I had breakfast late in the morning. We
Mhm.
ran out to do errands. We came back home. The weather was nice. I said, I'm just going to go to the pool and just sit in the water, no exercise. So I was listening. But I came back from the pool and I felt faint. I didn't fall
Mhm.
over, but I just felt woozy.
Yeah.
And I went back and looked at my diary and I hadn't eaten since 9 o'clock in the morning. Now,
Right.
I did have something nutritious at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Mhm.
And in my
Right.
mind, I thought this should just carry me through.
Yeah.
But running around doing those errands,
Mhm.
coming home, doing a few things, sitting in the sun, even in the water for an
Right.
hour, totally depleted me. And I
Depleted
walked in
you.
the house and I found a bottle of Propel in the refrigerator
Mhm.
and I didn't gulp it down because I knew better, but I
Yeah.
sipped it. And within a half hour, I was fine. But I
Yeah.
also knew I needed food. I needed
You
nutrition.
need a food. Yes. Yes.
And so
Yes.
that's what I'm talking about, that if we listen to ourselves,
Mhm.
we know what it's calling for. I knew it wasn't calling for a candy bar. It wasn't
Right.
calling for a piece of cake. And so when I even said it to my husband, he said, you know what? Let's just go out and get something for you to eat. I don't want you working in the kitchen because he just saw that I had finally got my energy level back up.
Right.
I'm going to
Right.
keep it there. That's another way that we need to think about it, is that
Yeah.
don't go deplete yourself by running around doing something.
And this is the thing, and as women, we get depleted all the time, right? I always say, people say, oh, I mean, if you people hear the analogy, oh, you can't get from an empty bucket, la da 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 da. But what does that really mean, right? What does that really mean? It means that if you, and it's nothing about being half full, you have to be filled with the energy that you need, because the reason why you can't get from an empty bucket is because the, and then don't get me wrong, people around you love you. They love you to, they love you forever, right? But if you are not taking care of yourself, not a lot of people actually care that you're not taking care of yourself. Once they are getting what they want, they will take it. And that's not, we're not knocking anybody. It's just life, people. It is just life. Your kids might turn around and says, Mom, I haven't seen you drink any water. How many people's kids turn around and say that? But you can go whole day, you make sure your kids are well hydrated, but you've had one glass of water, right? And then you get to the end of the night and they're asleep and you're like, oh my gosh, I feel like if I need to, I want this, I want that, I want that. And guess what? You're not hungry. You're just thirsty, right? And half of the time, people don't understand this. So the fact that when we are depleting ourselves and we are giving to others, or even some, as you said, you went out, you ran errands, you came back, it was a nice day. You're like, oh, I'm doing something good for myself. I'm going to sit in the pool. But you didn't, oh, really? I haven't eaten anything, because guess what? You are still soaking up the sun. And this is so prevalent at this time of the year. People are out there, they're soaking up the sun, they're having fun, they go to the beach, and either they're picking at everything and really not giving themselves, sitting down and eating, sitting down and eating, taking a plate and sitting down and eating, or maybe hydrating themselves well, because they sip here and they think that because they have a few sips that they actually hydrating themselves well. But you know, it's not so much about, I like people say, oh, drink your half your body weight in water. But research has shown if you continuously drink more than 68 ounces of water for the day, you're hydrating yourself, because we don't only drink water, right? We drink coffee, we may have watermelon, we may have this, we may have this. It's summertime, we might have 2 cups of coffee, but water, if you drink that on top of your 68 ounces of water for the day, you are getting the fluids into your body that you need. So you don't feel so dry and dehydrated. But having the right food, having the right nutrition, knowing what your body needs, is so key. I mean, even when I'm working with clients and I tell them, okay, so we look at what you want to achieve, we look at where you want to be, we look at where you want right now. A lot of them don't understand. When I calculate what your body needs, I'm like, if you want to stay right where you are right now, this is the amount, this is how much your body needs to function. So somebody may didn't understand, what do you mean 1,200 calories is what my body needs to function? I says, that is what your body needs to breathe, to move, for 24 hours. So then if you put exercise on top of that, you put work on top of that, you put everything on top of that, you are now depleting yourself excessively. And so then it's like, well, I'm not losing weight, or I'm not feeling any better, because you're not giving your body what you need. So what do the bodies do? The body's like, well, I am not getting what I need, so I'm just going to hold on to everything you put in me, because I don't know, and you're going to feed me. So again, we talk about listening to your body. Also, we just want to irritate here. Apart from listening to your body is very smart. So it is here to keep you alive. That's his main goal. It's there to keep you alive, and it's going to do what it needs to do to keep you alive. And if it means not releasing fat, not releasing anything that you don't want on your body, it's going to do it. Another thing, it's going to use up your muscle mass to supply its needs. So as we get older, like you said, we get pains, we get knee pains, we get hip pains. So we tend not to want to to move. But the less we move, the more muscle we are losing. And this is very hard for people to wrap your head around. How do you mean I'm not working it? Why am I losing it? Because your body is not going to break it down, because it's not being used. If it's not being used, the body's like, well, we don't no use for this muscle. So I'm going to break it down, and it's going to go in here, and it's going to look at flab and fat. Okay. So all of these things is things that we don't get we don't get told that when we go to these diet gurus. That's not what they're telling us. They're not telling us simple things like, oh, and maybe do some lightweight bearing exercise, go in the pool, do some workout in the pool. Before you even decide to sign up with me, I want you to do this for 2 weeks, and I want you to see how your body feels. We're not we're not getting into anything with you. I want you to drink this amount of water. I want you to try and get this amount of sleep, and I want you to do 45 minutes of exercise, or 20 minutes of exercise for the next 2 weeks, 3, 4 times a week, and you come and let me know how you feel. And then if you see the benefit of that, then maybe we can work together, because then I know you're serious. Because if you can do that on your own without my accountability for 2 weeks, I know you're serious. Right. And this is something that nobody does out here, right? Everybody wants to like just grab you in. I really want you. So this is why I like, follow me on social media, come to me on social media, DM me, send me messages, because I want to give you some information that you can take on your own right now. And you don't have to worry about pulling out your credit card, your debit card for me right now. I want you to see the benefit of this information. It's simple information, and this is where people get confused. It's simple information. It's things that, what you mean to tell me is that simple? Yeah, it's really this simple. Get some sleep, hydrate your body, move your body, put nutritious. If there's one thing you do for the day, put something in your body that it doesn't have to be cooked. Right? Some fruit, some veggies, one thing in your body that doesn't need to go on the stove, that is raw and that's come from the ground. And do that for 2 weeks and tell me how you feel. And try not to get too hungry. The thing is, another thing that we need to listen to our body is not understanding that we have different hunger, right? We have our physical hunger, which is when you're physically hungry, which means your body, it comes on gradually, right? You start me feeling, then you might have a little growl in your tummy, and you might have, then you might feel, like you said, a little lightheaded, and stuff like that, and you're like, okay, well, and maybe I need to eat something. You're not running at that point in time. You're not running for the candy.
Right.
You're not running. You are going to run for something that you know is going to help you. So you might actually choose a sandwich with some chicken or some meat or some cheese sandwich, and you're going to drink some water. You're going to feel better, right? That is physical hunger. We have then this emotional hunger that is being fed, and it's profound among us because we're not dealing with our feelings, right? We're stuffing them down. And we've been told as women in this country, you know, you don't need to feel, or when we do feel, or when we express our feelings, we're just being emotional, right? And so years and years of that is like, well, I can't express myself. So I'm gonna find another way. And most of us, I think 1/3 of Americans can tend to go to food to numb and comfort their feelings. And when you're feeling emotional about things, you go for this high fat, high caloric, ultra processed food. And that is what we call an emotional hunger. So those right there, you define when you feel like when you go in the fridge and you're like, I want to feel and want to eat something, think about it. What am I going in the fridge for? If am I really hungry, or is there something else that I need to deal with? So when we're talking about depletion, it's not just physical depletion. We're also talking about emotional and mental depletion that carries us towards food and to the things that especially food. I mean, for a lot of us, for me, it was always food. Like,
Right.
food is never going to talk back to you. Food is not going to ask you too many questions. If you go to a therapist, you're gonna have to explain yourself, right? The therapist is gonna ask you questions. You're gonna have to tell the therapist. You might cry a little bit, and then so I don't want to get emotional. So food is not gonna tell me that. So that's what I turn to. So that's another part of working with when I work with clients that I really have to dig into because people come and tell me and they will disguise it. I'm so sick of my body. I'm so tired of this. I'm so tired of that. What is going on? What is going on? And this is when we get to the bottom of that, it really does help a lot of people move on from this understanding that food is not going to cure it. Food is there for a reason, but it's not going to cure what's going on in the
Right. Exactly. Well, as our listeners know, or they should know, coaching helps you find what you need, and it helps you understand things more clearly. And when I, started working with a life coach, she had been
Mhm.
on the nutrition um, pathway. She had gone to a nutritional coach. So she helped me initially along the way, and I started realizing what I needed. But what really got me was a little over a year ago, my son called me up late at night. Mom, I have the worst heartburn I've ever had. Nothing's taking it away. I mean, he had taken so many Tums and Pepto-Bismol that whatever.
Mhm.
But the way he was complaining, it sounded like a heart attack. Now,
Right,
32 years old, I don't want to scare him.
right.
I said, you're 1,000 miles away, honey. I can't help you. Even if
Help you.
I'm
Yeah.
sure I couldn't, you need to call 911. Well, he didn't want to call 911. So kept
Mhm.
me on the phone all night long so I could listen to him breathe and complain. Finally, in the morning, he called 911. The pain was just too intense. His
Twins. Oh, wow.
gallbladder was about to burst. His gallbladder
Wow.
was 5 pounds worth of stones.
Wow.
Now, for years, this young man liked to eat his dinners late at night,
Mhm.
and he liked his red beef, and he
Mhm.
wasn't eating enough vegetables. He wasn't, and he's not a fruit eater. And so he was stuffing his body with red meat, and his body just couldn't handle it anymore. One of the
Yeah.
things he learned once he had his surgery is he listens to his body. If he says,
Yeah.
I'm really in the mood for a greasy hamburger, he'll think about it and then
Mhm.
realize how much pain that's going to give him. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to go home and I'm going to air fry a beef patty. And guess what?
Yes.
It's not going to taste like that greasy hamburger that in my mind sounds so great, but I'm not going to get sick. And
Right.
here's the
Right.
difference. But we have to be honest with ourselves.
We have to be honest with ourselves, and one of the things with with clients and stuff like that, sometimes when they say to me, well, this is what I really want, I'm like, okay. I'm like, how many days in a row can you eat this particular thing? Because this is another thing that you can try at home. This is going to sound really bad, but it's not. This is another thing that you want to try really bad, because people tell me all the time, but Michelle, you don't understand. I cannot resist XYZ. I cannot resist chocolate. Okay. I want you for the next week, every time you think that you want chocolate, I want you to eat as much chocolate as you want. Just go right ahead. Eat the chocolate. I can guarantee you that in a week's time, you are going to be so sick of chocolate. You may not want to see chocolate for a long time, right? Because the thing is, the mind is what is we need to figure out. And as you said, it's a choice that we have to make. Do we want this or do we want that? It's a choice that we have to make. That mindset that I can't stop myself. I just can't stop myself. The thing is, you need about two or three or four bites or something to satisfy you. The thing with emotions, and this is where the emotions come in. Why you can't stop eating chocolate? What is going on that you can't stop eating the chocolate? Is there something that you're missing? Are you having a fight with your children? Are you having a fight? Is you and your husband not getting along? Right? Is something going on at work that you don't want to deal with? Right? So a lot of the times is that we don't want to deal with it. But as your son experienced, if you continually do something over and over and over again that is not beneficial for your body, you're going to reap the consequences in some way, some shape, or some form. Your son was the gallbladder. Thank God it wasn't his heart, but obviously gallbladder pain can defer to your chest,
Right.
and you really believe that you're having a heart attack. The other thing is certain things like, when you have heartburn and stuff like that, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're having a heart attack, but it could mean that maybe your liver is inflamed, and all of these things that is causing your one system to malfunction is then referring the pain somewhere else.
Right.
So when it comes to, now that you've got your diagnosis, and when you've gone in and your son has had surgery and he came out okay with that surgery, but what if he didn't listen to you? Like, can you imagine what could have happened the rest of his in
Yep. We lost your sound. I don't know what happened. Your sound just totally died on us.
oh
Oh, there you go. You're fine now.
oh okay, that's weird.
Your
uh,
headset?
it's maybe one side of my headset,
Okay.
and then plus it's telling me my internet connection is unstable, which is weird because I have like all the bars. But yeah, so I mean, I'm just wanting people to understand that listening to your body is very key, and it's something that, as I said, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, and it's going to take persistent effort on your part. But if you want to have a starting point, this is where you can start. This is what, we're not sending you on any um wild goose chase, anywhere diets, anything like that. We want you to start with becoming aware. Awareness is so key. If you in a marriage and something, you know when something is not going quite right, you become aware. So then it's your choice right then and there. What am I going to do with this? Am I going to let this continue fester? Are we going to talk about it? And what are we going to do about it? And then what is my part? What part am I playing? Right? Because in a relationship, when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to your body, when it comes to your health, you're in a relationship with yourself. And when you take that relationship and you value that relationship of how am I treating myself? You have one body. We get to live in it. I think we need to love it, right? And what is the value that you put on your life, and what is the value that you put in on this relationship? Um, Karen can't have the same relationship with my body as I have with my body, and I can't just have the same relationship as Karen have with her body. We need to have our love ourselves individually. And when we do that, I really believe it starts with how am I taking care of my health? You will invest in everything you value. If you value having the latest cell phone, you're gonna pay the $2,000 for it, right? If you value having the latest vehicle, you're gonna pay the $50,000 for it, right? You're gonna go into debt for that. I don't see anybody going into debt for their health, and this is what I want people to understand. If you're healthy, you can work until you pay off your car. You can work until you pay off that the house loan, right? You can work until you pay off that vacation. But people would go to into debt to the highest level where they actually can't even afford it to go on a vacation that lasts for a week, but you won't invest in what lasts for a lifetime, which is your
Right.
health. And I'm not saying that you can't, look, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you can't have certain foods, and there's no bad food as far as I'm concerned. There's no good and there's no bad. There is better, and there's some things that's really not good for you. Like your son now with his gallbladder, there's certain things that he can't eat. He can't eat high fat food,
Right.
right? If he eats high fat food, he has to trade up pain,
Exactly. Exactly.
right, for high fat. So sometimes he might take a chance and he might do it because he's like, okay, I really want this burger right now, but I'm gonna have pass, right? So he has to make that choice. But it's the value. Now, this high fat burger is gonna take me down for 2 days. Can I afford to be down for 2 days? So it's like, what value are you putting on your health? What value are you putting on your life? What value are you putting for the rest of your life? Okay, because we have this one life, we have this one body, and we need to be able to take care of it to the best of our abilities. And when people say, well, eating healthy is expensive, no, it's not, right? You can get canned vegetables, you can get canned fruits, you can do the things that you can get beans, having protein, you don't have, you can get beans, you can have beans and you get protein, right? Have rice, rice gives you good carbohydrate. Have potatoes, potatoes give you a lot of vitamins, vitamin K, vitamin C. Potatoes are good for you, right? Now it's all you choose to cook it. Now, if you cook it and you steep it in fat and you let it sit in the fat and stuff like that, then yeah, it's not, you are defeating the whole value.
Right.
But the foods that we have available to us in this country, especially, we can actually eat a lot better because, I don't care what you say. Have you been to McDonald's lately? I haven't been lately, but I know for a fact there ain't no dollar menu anymore.
Yeah.
It's $5. It's a
Yeah.
$5 menu, but there ain't no dollar menu anymore. So
Absolutely.
again, you take that $5 that you're spending 3 times a week, this is $15, and you go, you buy some vegetables. You go, you buy some canned fruits and vegetables. You go home, you get some yogurt, you put some canned fruit on it, you blend it up. You maybe want to maybe get some ice cream. If you want ice cream, get a thing of ice cream, put some fruit in it, blend it up with some protein powder. Girl, you are putting protein in your body, putting fruit in your body, and you are satisfying a little bit of ice cream craving. You good,
Love
right?
it.
You use that as a snack. So, it can be done, and it doesn't have to be expensive.
Well, I'm going to thank you so much for being with us today. We're going to put all your information in the show notes. So anybody who wants more information from Michelle, if you want to, work with her, listen to what she has to say to get started, because you need to commit to yourself. It's not so much
Mhm.
you're committing to Michelle as a coach, you're committing to yourself. And if you can't commit to yourself, then you're not ready.
you're not ready, and you're not can you if you can't commit to yourself, like that's where, and I think that is a lot of accountability comes in, and this is what we give, this is what we offer, right? We offer accountability, we offer support, because sometimes it's hard to put yourself first because you've been a lifetime of not putting yourself first. So if you are wanting to contact me, just go ahead and contact me. Ask Karen how to contact me. Also, I have a free masterclass coming up about emotional eating and how we are sabotaging our body, how we can stop this emotional eating that we need to really dive down and deal with, because it's really ruining a lot of us. It's insidious in our lives. So the master class is coming up on August 7th and 8th. I mean, I'll give Karen the link. You want to register, go ahead and register. It's free. And you can also find information on Instagram or Facebook. So I would love to talk to you if you really want somebody just to start you off and say, where do I start? We can get you going for
Sounds
sure.
wonderful. Well, have a wonderful day and stay safe out on the West Coast. Have a great
I
day.
will.
Yep.
Thanks,
Bye bye
Karen.
now.
Thank you so much.
Sure.